गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा। In our last session, we had covered up to this 30th shloka. Anadi anirvachyam api yah karanam maya pradhanam tu param sharirakam upadi bhedat tu yata prathak sthitam swatmanam atmani avadharayat kramat. So, last session we began with this 24th shloka. Shraddhanvitah tattvamasi iti vakyatah गुरोः प्रसादातपि शुद्धमानसः विज्ञाय च एकात्म्यम् अथ आत्मजीवयोः सुखी भवे मेरुः इव अप्रकम्पनः. So those who are endowed with Shraddha, where there is faith plus element of surrender, and they have purified their mind through the Nishkam Karma Yoga. So Shraddha, they have Shraddha in the existence of the absolute truth, Shraddha in the scriptures, in the Guru, and in their own self. They are totally surrendered at the feet of the Guru, and they have purified their mind through Nishkam Karma Yoga, Shuddha Manasaha. And by the grace of Guru Prasadatapi, by the grace of Guru, then having contemplated on Tattvamasi Vakyatah, Vijñāya, then having realized Cha Ekatmyam Atha Atma Jivayoho, the oneness between the Jivatma and Paramatma, having realized that, then what? Sukhi Bhavet Meruh Iva Aprakampana. Then they attain infinite bliss and they are not disturbed by, untouched by anything in the external world, like the Meru mountain. So, whatever the situation may be outside, the conditions may be in favor or not in favor, it doesn't matter. So, it doesn't affect the one who has realized the self and reveling in the infinite bliss. Then, in the 25th shloka, it was said, Adav padartha avagatihi karanam vakyartha vijñāya vidhau vidhanatah tattvam padartha paramatma jivakau asi iti cha ekatmyam atha anayoho bhavet. So to understand any statement, any sentence, we have to first understand the meaning of each and every word in that statement, in that sentence, as per the rules of the language, that particular language. And then, having understood that, similarly, this Tattvamasi Padartha also, we have to understand the Tat Pada, Tvam Pada, and the Asi Pada, the three words in that, and the oneness that is established. So what is Tat? Tat we have seen, Ishvara, Sarvajna, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvavyapi, with the conditioning of the total mind or total Vasana or Maya Shakti. And Tvam is, of course, limited by Desha Kala Vastu, space, time, and object, causation, and Alpadnya, Alpashaktiman, Alpavyapi. So, these are the two meanings, the Tat and Tvam, that is the Shabdartha. And only with the Lakshartha, it is established that the two are one. So when it is said that Tattvamasi, Shabdat of Tat and Shabdat of Tvam, and then if it is said that they are one, that is not acceptable. So one has to go for the Lakshartha. Lakshartha only will establish the correct meaning of the sentence. So in the 26th shloka it was said, Pratyak Parokshadi Virodham Atmanah Vihaya Sangruyya Tayoho Chidatmatam Sanshoditam Lakshanaya Cha Lakshitam Jnatva Swam Atmanam Atha Advayo Bhavet Advayaha Bhavet. So the contradictory or the opposing meaning, the qualities that has to be rejected. Pratyak Paroksha, that is, one is immediate experience, Pratyak. Ishvara is Paroksha, something is not immediate. And then of course omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent and all that thing. And this is the limitation of the presence and limitations of the power and limitations of the knowledge and so on. So limited by space, limited by power, limited by knowledge. They are all to be rejected. Pratyak parokshadi virodhatmanah vihaya sangrya tayoho chidatmatam. So then, having taken all that, then one should arrive at the nature, that is to be pure consciousness. Tayoho chidatmatam. So this proper analysis has to be done. The lakshanaya cha lakshatam, sanshodhita lakshanaya cha lakshitam. So this analysis has to be done. The indicative meaning has to be approached. Jnatva, having known, having realized, swam atmanam atha advayoho bhavet. So that is the real self, and that is how one becomes non-dual. One abides in that non-dual self. Not becomes, because one is already that non-dual self. So one realizes one's own nature as non-dual. So as we have seen the example of river merging with the ocean, and its own name and form is given up. The dreamer, when he wakes up, he folds up the dream world, the dream experiences, as well as the dreamer. All of them, they disappear into the waking world, waker, and the waking world and the waking experience. Instantly. As soon as one wakes up from the dream, instantly it is over. It doesn't take any time. Then, in the 27th shloka, it was said, Ekatmakatvat jahati na sambhavet तथा अजहत लक्षणता विरोधतः सह अयम पदार्थौ इव भागलक्षणा युज्ये तत्वम पदार्थ पदयोः अदोषतः. So this we have seen exhaustively in Vakya Vritti. Jahat Lakshana cannot be employed here to understand the correct meaning of the sentence. In Jahat Lakshana, the meaning, the word meaning is given up, and then the indicative meaning is taken up. Something is understood. The whole sentence is rejected and something else is understood. Then in Ajat Lakshana, something is added to make the meaning complete. Then in Bhagatyaga Lakshana or Jahat Ajahat Lakshana, then something is retained, something is rejected. So that is employed in arriving at the correct meaning of Tattvam Asi. Bhagatyaga Lakshana, that is important. Then in the next three shlokas, 28, 29 and 30, Prabhu Ramchandra ji discusses about this gross body, subtle body and causal body. Now in short, what is discussing here is Tvampada, because gross, subtle and the causal body, they belong to this Jiva. So this Tvampada is being discussed. In the 28th shloka, Rasadi Panchikruta Bhuta Sambhavam Bhogalayam Dukkha Sukhadi Karmanam Shariram Adyantavad Adi Karmajam Mayamayam Sthulam Upadi Atmanah. So how this gross body is formed? Gross body is formed from the apanchikruta, that is panchikruta, that is the grossified 5 elements, through their self-division and mutual combination. So this has been exhaustively explained in even in the Tattva Bodh, Atma Bodh and Vivek Chudamani. So all the 5 great elements, each are divided into 2 parts. One half part is retained as it is. The second half part is divided again into 4. And each of those 4 go into the other 4 elements. So this is called as this pentamerous grossification. That means the self-division and mutual combination. This is the grossification part. So this is the raw material that is used to make this gross body. Now the raw material is same. With the same raw material, all the gross bodies are made. But then why these all gross bodies, they look different? No 2 faces match with each other. Then no 2 minds are alike. So no 2 intellects are alike. So they are all different. Mentally, physically, and intellectually, each and every one of us is unique. We appear different. Even in a crowd of 1,000 people, we can recognize each other, though the raw material being used for this physical form is the same. So what is it that goes into the specifics? So now here it is said that it is karmanam, karmajam. So the raw material is there with the Lord, but he will design the body according to the specifications given to him. And we give the specification. We are responsible for the specification. If we are not happy with our body, we have ourselves to blame. If we are not happy with the sense organs or our mind or our intellect, we are ourselves to be blamed. Because through every karma that we perform, through every thought that went through our intellect, through the emotions that we entertain, we have given the specification for the design of the future form. So, how the form should be. So we have ourselves to blame. And that form, that body is bhogalaya. That is a counter to experience dukha and sukha. So this is this gross physical body. And this gross physical body, it is born in time and therefore it will die in time. Shariram adyantavad. So there is a beginning and there is an end to this gross physical body. Maya mayam sthulam upadi atmana. So this is the product of Maya, ignorance, and it is the upadhi, it is the equipment of the self. If you have to grow out of this upadhi, gross body, if you have to overcome gross body, then you have to overcome this alasya nidra pramad. That is laziness, excessive sleep, and committing the same errors again and again. Then in the next verse, Prabhu Ramchandra spoke about the Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body. Sukshmam mano buddhi dasha indriya yutam pranaihi panchakruta bhuta sambhavam. Apanchakruta bhuta sambhavam. So this subtle body is made out of the non-grossified 5 great elements. The gross body was made out of the grossified 5 elements. Here it is made out of the non-grossified, that is the tanmatras. So the subtle body comprises of the 17 factors. Pancha Jnanendriya, that is the 5 sense organs. Pancha Karmendriya, the 5 organs of action. Pancha Pranas, the 5 pranas. And then mind and intellect. Together, the 17. Together, they comprise the subtle body. So, that is in kosha form, we can say Pranamaya Kosh, Manomaya Kosh, and Vijnanamaya Kosha. The 3 koshas together, they comprise of the subtle body. So, the experience that we have, Bhoktuhu, Sukhadehe Anusadhanam Bhavet, Shariram Anyat viduhu atmanah buddha. So actually, this is how we experience the sukha dukkha, different experiences of this world. But the self is other than the subtle body. Self is other than the gross body. Self is also other than the subtle body. So understand this to be other than that. Now, if you have to transcend the subtle body, then we should not yield to the modifications of the mind. And the modifications of the mind are kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. They are the modifications of the mind. So we have to overcome that. we should not yield to that. And this can be done by viveka, vairagya, and surrendering at the feet of our Lord, Sadguru. And then in the 30th shloka, Prabhu Ramchandra spoke about the causal body. Anadi anirvachyam api iha karanam maya pradhanam tu param sharirakam upadi bhedat tu yata pruthak sthitam swatmanam atmani avadharayat kramat. So anadi anirvachyam api iha karanam. This causal body is variously, they are called as Maya with reference to Ishvara, Pradhan in Sankhya Yoga, and even it is also called as Param Shariram. Why this causal body is called as Param Shariram? It is anyway Shariram only. It is called as Param. Param superior in comparison to gross and the subtle body. Because this causal body is the cause of the subtle and the gross body. Therefore, this body is called as superior to gross and subtle. This one is the cause of the other two. Therefore, superior. So, to param shariram. Upadi bhedat yata pruthak sthitam. So, that is the cause. Now, this gross and subtle body can be negated by negating the waking plane of consciousness. Waking plane of consciousness is negated by not giving any value to the waking world. You see, this we have seen. Therefore, the waking world, waking experience, and the waker, when they are rejected, then we have conquered the gross body. So, this is important. And of course, to conquer the subtle body, we have to take everything as a duty and all the actions as kartavya and to be discharged without the desire for the fruits of our action. That is important. Causal body is of course conquered because causal body is basically ignorance. Ignorance can be conquered by the study of the scriptures and by contemplating on that. And thus we understand the difference, the Jiva Jagata Ishvara. What is the difference between them? And actually this Jiva Jagata Ishvara is all one. And once we have transcended the causal body, then of course life expresses through us spontaneously. That is a sign that we have transcended the causal body. Up to here we had done in our last session. Today we will begin a new session, new shloka session. Shlok 31. Kosheshvayam te shutu tadakrutihi vibhati sangat sphatikopalo yatha asanga rupo yamajo yatodvayah vijñāyatesmin parito vicharate kosheshu ayam teshu tu tattad akrutihi vibhati sangat sphatika upalah yatha asanga rupah ayam ajah yatah advayah vijñāyate asmin paritah vicharite. Now we have got these 5 koshas. Now here Prabhu Ramchandra ji is giving example. What is the example? Sangas Fatika Upalaha Yatha. If there is a crystal glass is there, and that is kept on a colored cloth. So if it is kept on a blue cloth, it will appear blue. On a yellow cloth, it will appear yellow. On a red cloth, it will appear red. Though the crystal glass has got no color of its own. And when it is kept on that cloth, it appears to be red, but it is still not red. When it is on the cloth also, it is not red. It is colorless only. It has got no color. It may appear to be yellow or blue, though it has itself no color. And even when it is kept on the cloth, it is still colorless only, but it appears to have the color of that cloth. Similarly, with the close proximity of the self with this panchakoshas, the self appears to be the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. It appears to be taking the form and the qualities of each koshas, of that particular kosha. So this Jiva Bhava or ego identifies with this Pancha Kosha. When it identifies with the gross physical body, then it accepts the form as its own. When it identifies with the Pranamaya Kosha, then it expresses as hunger and thirst. When it identifies with the Manomaya Kosha, then it has got the different experiences of Sukha and Dukkha, miseries and sorrows. So happiness and misery, joys and sorrows, pleasure and pain, all these kind of things happen when the self, so to say, identified with the Manomaya Kosha, or the mental sheath, the mind. And when it is identified with the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intellectual sheath, then it has got a Karta Bhukta Bhava. I am the doer, I am the experiencer. Though the self is neither the doer nor the experiencer. It doesn't go any relative sufferings, experiences of the relative world like Sukha Dukkha, joys and sorrows or pleasure or pain or anything like that. It has got no hunger and thirst. It has got no form at all. And yet it appears to be like that. And then when identified with the Anandamaya Kosha, then that is Prajna, almost ignorant. But Bhoga Lakshana is there because of the Ananda. So, Kosheshu ayam teshu tu tattat akruti hi vibhati sangas phatika upalaha yatha. Now, asanga rupaha ayam ajaha yata advayaha vijnayate asmin paritaha vicharite. When we thoroughly, intellectually we discriminate and contemplate, then we realize that we come to know that ayam ajaha, it is unborn, the self is unborn. The gross physical body has got a time. It is born in time and it will die in time. But the self is unborn. Ayam ajaha, unborn. Asanga rupaha, it is unattached, uncontaminated, unattached with anything. Why? Because advayaha, it is non-dual. There is no sense of otherness, non-dual, there is nothing there other than itself. So there is nothing to attach itself to, asangaha. So therefore unattached. Vijnayate asmin, we know it through contemplation. When we thoroughly discriminate and understand, where we do the Panchakosha Viveka, then we come to know that. Now, asangaha, asangarupaha ayam ajaha yata advayaha. So we are unattached, unborn, and non-dual. So this is our own description. We have to be in awe of our own self. This is what we are in reality. Like somebody in the last session said that I am in awe. Yes, you have to be in awe of your own self. This is what the scriptures, they describe about our own real self. Having said that, in Shlok 32, Buddhe stidavrutirapih drishyate swapnadi bhede na gunatrayatmanah anyonyatosmin vyabhicharito mrusha nitye pare brahmani kevale shive. बुद्धेः त्रिधा वृत्तिः अपि इह दृश्यते स्वप्न आदि भेदेन गुणत्रयात्मनः अन्योन्यतः अस्मिन् व्यभिचारितः मृषा नित्ये परे ब्रह्मणि केवले शिवे. So now बुद्धेः त्रिधा वृत्तिः अपि इह दृश्यते. So this buddhi is influenced by the three gunas. So these three guna, that is the sattva, rajas, tamas, they are the three gunas. Avarana or the veiling of the truth is due to the tamoguna, tamas. And the subsequent projections, vikshepa or the projections, because of the veiling of the truth, now there is a projection of something that is untruth. Veiling of the real is there, so the projection of unreal is there. Now this projection of unreal, that is the illusion by the mind, is due to the rajas, expressing as rajas. And then of course swapna adi bhedena gunatrayatmaka. So these three gunas are there, that affects the buddhi. And then of course there are three avasthas are also there, jagrat, swapna and sushupti, that bhedena. So these three avasthas and three gunas. Now anyonyataha asmin avyabhicharitah mrusha. So now anyonyataha asmin avyabhicharitah mrusha, this should be false or illusory because they are mutually different. In the waking plane of consciousness, when we are waker, then it negates the dream state as well as deep sleep state in the waking plane. Dream state negates both the waking plane as well as the deep sleep state, sushupti avastha. And the deep sleep state, the sushupti avastha, negates the waking as well as the dream state. So anyonyataha, they are separate. Asmin vijarita. So they are contradictory. They cut off each other. One is rejected in the other state of consciousness. And therefore, it cannot be real. Real by definition is what? By definition, real is that which is present in all three periods of time, past, present, and future, and it is actually beyond time. Moreover, it is beyond the three states of consciousness, waking, dream, and the deep sleep state, as well as it is the substratum of waking, dream, and deep sleep state. So that which is present in all the three planes of consciousness, that is the real self. Whereas in waking plane, dream and deep sleep is absent. In dream state, the waking and deep sleep is absent, and in deep sleep, the other two states are absent. But I, the pure self, is present in all the three states. I am the supporter of all these three states, and I am other than these three states. I am neither the waker, dreamer, nor the deep sleeper. So, anyonya asmin vyabhicharitah mrusha, I am different than these three planes of consciousness. So in presence of one plane of consciousness, the other is negated and so on. So therefore, this is an illusion and due to contradiction. So, so it doesn't affect the self because self pervades through all three states of consciousness. In fact, it is a substratum of all three states of consciousness, and it is not affected by any of the state of consciousness or their modification. Illusion is what? Illusion is when I am not in the waking plane of consciousness and I think that nobody else is in the waking plane of consciousness. Or I thinking that I function through this one particular body and therefore my experiences are limited to one body alone and not the other bodies. So that is also an illusion. You see, so there is a sense of otherness. I am there, and then other than me, something else is also there. So many people are there, living and non-living things and beings are there, and so on. So that vritti which is sattvic. What is the sattvic vritti? In nature is the waking plane of consciousness. That which is rajasic is the dream state of consciousness, and that which is tamasic is the sushupti avastha. And self is beyond the three. Self is nitya, eternal, always. Triguna-tita, beyond the three gunas. Avastha-traya-tita, that is beyond the three planes of consciousness. You see, Panchakosha-tita, beyond the five koshas or the five sheets. So, this is what it is. This is the pure self. And what is that? Nitye pare brahmani kevale shive. Shive, auspicious, ever auspicious. Nitya. Nitya is eternal. Supreme. Brahmani. Kevale. So, kevale is one without a second, non-dual. Nothing else exists other than that. So, this can be realized. Now, if you have to realize this Nitya pare brahmani kevale shive, this is our own description. And if we have to realize, we have to have Sat Asat Viveka, Nitya Anitya Viveka, and Atma Anatma Viveka. Through this continuous Viveka, what is Nitya, what is Anitya, what is Sat, what is Asat, what is Atma, what is Anatma, then this Nitya Pare Brahmani Kevale Shive, this can be realized. Now, we move on to the next shloka, Shlok 33. Dehendriya prana manaschidatmanam sanghadajasvam parivartate dhiyah vrittistamumulatayajna lakshana yavad bhavetavadasau bhavodbhavah. Deha indriya prana manah chidatmanam sanghat ajastram parivartate dhiyah वृत्ति तमोमूलतया अलक्षणा अज्ञलक्षणा यावत् भवेत् तावद् असौ भव उद्भव. So now देहेन्द्रिय प्राण मन चिदात्मना, so this enlivened by the self, so one gets identified with ever changing, ever modifying this body, sense organs, prana, mana, etc. Now we get identified with that and even by the self. The complex of this gross body, sense organs, prana, mana, everything. And that is due to ignorance, avidya. Sanghat ajastram parivartate, that is continuously changing, keeps on changing, that is subject to modification, vikari. Then dhiya vritti tamumulataya ajna lakshana, so the endless eruptions of thoughts in the intellect, and that is due to the tamas. So they are of the nature of avidya. Tamas is of the nature of avidya. Dhiya vritti tamumulataya, that is of the nature of avidya due to this tamaguna. Ajna lakshana, that is of the nature of avidya or ignorance. Yavad bhavet tavad asau bhava udbhava. Now, as long as this buddhi and is continuously modifying thoughts, they remain, then we are put to this repeated cycle of birth and death in samsara. So birth in samsara, they continue. Yavad bhavet tavad asau bhava udbhava. So this continues continuously. Now, why this vritti is the cause of this samsara again and again? Because it is the intellect, mind, flows to the five sense organs into the external world and gathers knowledge of the external world of things and beings. And then in the intellect, different thoughts are passing by regarding those things and beings in the external world that is perceived by the five senses. And then desire erupts to possess, to experience certain names and forms of things and beings in the outside world. And then the body acts to acquire that and to experience it. And then when the experience, depending upon the experience, whether it was good or bad, if you enjoyed it, if it was good, then you want to repeat the experience. Then continuous repeating the experience generates the vasanas. If the experience was not good, then it will generate the dvesha, the hatred or dislike for that. That also is a vasana. So vasana of raga, vasana of dvesha, attachment and aversion, both are there. And then we go on experiencing this. It is only thought that is projecting on the things and beings outside. That object may give me some pleasure. This appears good, that I should experience. It is only a thought. And then it goes on and new thoughts come, new and new objects are seen and things like that. And we have to experience it. We acquire, we experience it. The impressions are formed. And then we go on continuing with this. By the time the body is dropped, we carry this vasana, these impressions, new body is formed again. And again, we go to the same rigmarole. So as long as this thing goes on, as long as we feel, we think that the external world can give us some kind of joy, pleasure, or happiness, the mind will keep running into the external world. But if we are sure that the external world cannot give us any permanent joy, pleasure, or happiness, then we'll be able to work on that. So, as long as it is there, then the samsara will continue. Then one gross body is dropped. This subtle body will go in search of another gross body. Then it will dwell in that body, and then the samsara continues. Then when that gross body drops, it will go into another gross body, and so on. So once, when there is a bucket full of water, and if that bucket springs a leak, so the water is poured into another bucket. This bucket has become useless. So the bucket is the gross body, and the water in that is a subtle body. So this will go on. So after one gross body, the subtle body goes into another gross body and another and another. Only with the realization of self, the subtle body is also destroyed. Then there is no more subtle body to go seeking the other gross body. So as long as there is objectification of knowledge, that is the sense of otherness is there, the samsara will continue. I am there and something other than I is there. So therefore, the samsara will continue. Then I have to experience that. Now, having said that, here Prabhu Ramchandra ji gives us the sadhana in the 34th shloka. Neti pramanena nirakrutakhilah hruda samaswadita chidghanamrita tyajedashesham jagadata sadrasam pitva yathamba prajahati tatphalam. Neti pramanena nirakruta akhilah hruda samaswadita chidghanamrita tyajed ashesham jagad atasadrasam pitva yatha ambha prajahati tatphalam. So now, what is the sadhana? Neti pramanena, as given in the scriptures, through this neti practice. What is neti practice? Not this, not this. So that is Atma and Atma Viveka we are doing. What is Atma? Is the gross physical body Atma? Are the sense organs Atma? Why gross physical body is not the Atma? Now you people are all experts. We have got 13, 14 reasons why gross physical body is not Atma. Similarly, the sense organs, many of those reasons can be applied to the sense organs. Same thing with the pranamaya kosha. Prana, I cannot be the prana. If we stop breathing for a few seconds, we don't go out of existence. Had we been prana, then by stopping the breath, we should go at least for a few seconds out of existence, but that doesn't happen. So this pranamaya kosha we cannot be, manomaya kosha we cannot be, because both mind and the intellect, vijnanamaya kosha, they are absent in the deep sleep state, but we are very much present there. So neti, through discriminative intellect, we have to thoroughly analyze logically, rationally, intellectually, scientifically. We have to analyze why we cannot be any of these panchakoshas, and thus we have to reject them. Neti pramanena nirakruti akhilaha. So this has to be rejected completely, all the equipments. And then ruda samasvadita chidghanamrita. Then in one's own heart, one experiences or one has the awareness of that immortal pure consciousness. Chidghana. Chidghana, that is the homogeneous mass where there is no sense of duality, no division is there. And therefore, the Chidghana. Ghana, when we are translating into English, we can only come up with a word like homogeneous. You see, where there is no scope of any division, it cannot be broken into. It is one and infinite, indivisible, akhanda. So once that is realized, until that is not realized, and as long as there is no viveka, this is not realized, realization is far away, but at least viveka should be there. If that viveka is also not there, and this realization is anyway not there, so the mind will keep running, and then we'll get into samsara again and again. So at least that viveka, if it is there, though we have not realized the self, but if the viveka is there, there is no happiness, shashwat, permanent happiness in the external world. That viveka has to be there. So ruda samas swadita chidghanamrita tyajet, once that is attained, tyajet ashesham jagat sadrisam. Then only we'll give up this external world. Because as long as we think that there is something in the external world that can give me joy, pleasure, or happiness, the mind will keep running into that. Once, at least through Viveka, we are 101% sure that there is no permanent joy, pleasure, or happiness in the external world, then at least it will stop running there. And once we realize the self, which is of the nature of infinite bliss, then why do we need the world? Because all the joys, pleasures, or happiness of this entire world is all temporary, momentary, fleeting, and it is dependent on some external objects. When we have tapped into the source of infinite bliss, then who cares for the world? Then Tyajet Ashesham Jagat Atta Sadrasam, and Prabhu Ramchandraji gives an example. Pitva Yathambha Pajahati Tatphalam. After a traveler, a thirsty traveler, he quenches his thirst with the sweet coconut water. He enjoys that very much. And then, having enjoyed the coconut water, what will he do with the shell? He throws it away. So, similarly, having tapped into our own essence, who cares for this world after that? Whether it is there or not there, what is happening in that? Who cares about it? The Tyajet Ashesham. So, this world is renounced completely. And this example is given. It's very good. So, when the thought is tamasic, it is interested in rupa. When thought is rajasic, then it is interested in nama. And when the thought is sattvic, it turns inwards, introvert, and then engages in neti sadhana, atma anatma viveka, nitya anitya viveka, sat asat viveka, and so on. Now, having said that, we go further. Next shlok, shlok 35. कदाचिदात्मा न मृतो न जायते न क्षीयते नापि विवर्धते नवः निरस्त सर्वातिशय सुखात्मकः स्वयं प्रभस्वर्वगतो यमद्वयः. Now here again Prabhu Ramchandra ji gives a description about our own self. What is that? Kadachit atma na mritah na jayate na kshiyate na api vivardate anavah nirasta sarva atishaya sukhatmakah swayam prabha sarvagatah ayam advaya. So here now kadachit atma na mritah. So this self can never be subjected to birth and death. Why? Because it is not an effect of any cause. So, kadachid atma na mruto na jayate. It is not an effect of any cause. It is beyond the time itself. Space, time, causation. It is beyond all these three. So, there is no question of any birth and death. There was no time when we didn't exist. And there will be no time when we will cease to exist. So, immortality is not being in the mortal form permanently. Everybody wants to be immortal in this body. That is not possible. Because body is temporary, created in time, and it will be destroyed in time. We have got nothing to do with the body. We are not the body. So, trying to seek a permanent job in a temporary department, that is not possible. The body is temporary. People foolishly think of becoming immortal in the form that is subject to destruction. No. So, the self, kadachit atma, it is talking about the self, not the gross physical body. Self is not subject to birth and death because it is not an effect of any cause. It is beyond the limitations of time, space, object, and causation. And since it has got no birth, no death, and it is beyond the time, space, and causation, na kshiyate, na api vivardate. There is no question of any decay or growth. Because it is partless, there are no parts to it. There is swagata bheda rahita. There is no vijatiya, sajatiya, swagata bheda. There is no parts. It is one homogeneous mass of consciousness, unlimited, infinite. So there is no question of decay or growth in that. It is infinite. Infinite plus one or infinite minus one doesn't make any sense. Na kshiyate, na api vivardate. Then anavaha. Anavaha means it is not new. That means it is the most ancient. Most ancient. Ancient also we refer to in terms of time. Ancient, medieval, modern, ultra-modern and all those things. Most ancient and all that thing. That is with reference to time. So this is beginningless and eternal. There is no time factor to indicate the self. It has always been. It is. I am who I am. That has come in the book of Genesis in the Bible also. When God was asked your name, what is your name? He said, I am who am. It always is. There is no past or future. It is always existent. Nirasta sarva atishaya sukhatmaka. Nirasta sarva atishaya. So then nirasta sarva atishaya means what? There is in that self, there are no more attributes. The panchakoshas are not there. There are no name, form, color, qualities, nothing. Formless, attributeless, colorless. You cannot think of that. And therefore it cannot be actually even named. There cannot be any name also. Nirasa sarva atishaya and sukhatmakaha. Sukhatmakaha, of the nature of infinite bliss. Sukhatmaka, blissful it is. Swayam Prabha, self-effulgent. Self-effulgent means it doesn't need any other illumination. It illumines everything. It is the illuminator of everything, and nothing can illuminate it. Something which is self-effulgent, nothing can illumine that. What can illumine the sun? Sun illumines everything on this earth. What can illumine the sun? Nothing. So that which is self-illumined, self-effulgent, it illumines everything and nothing can illuminate it. That is Swayam Prabha. So, Sarvagataha, when one is non-dual and infinite, infinite only will be non-dual. And that infinite only will be all-pervading. Even to say all-pervading is also wrong. Because when that alone exists, there is nothing else. Only all-pervading term is used in compared to that which is limited in pervasiveness. So, we pervade only through this body, and then we say that Ishvara is all-pervading. So, compared to Jiva, Ishvara is all-pervading, and Jiva is limited in pervasiveness. But as regards the ultimate truth is concerned, the pure self, nothing exists other than itself. So to call it all-pervading is also actually wrong. That alone exists and nothing else. And it is infinite. So there is nothing to limit it. So it is there everywhere, at all times. So, Swayam Prabha Sarvagataha Ayam Advayaha, non-dual, that is infinite. So this is the description of our own self. Now, having said that, we move on to the next shloka, Shlok 36. Evam vidhejnanamaye sukhatmake katham bhavo dukkhamaya pratiyate ajnanato dhyasa vashat prakashate jnane viliyeta virodhata kshanat. Evam vidhe jnanamaye sukhatmake katham bhavah dukkhamaya pratiyate. Ajnanatah adhyasavashat prakashate jnane viliyeta virodhatah kshanat. Now, evam vidhe jnanamaya sukhatmake. In the Atma, which is of the nature of pure consciousness, and of course it is infinite, Sukhatmake, of the nature of bliss, Katham bhavo dukkhamaya pratiyate. How can there be any experience of misery, sorrows, or pain if this self, pure self, is of the nature of infinite bliss? How can ever there be an experience of misery, sorrow, or pain? Evam videj jnanamaya sukhatmake katham bhava dukkhamaya pratiyate. How can there ever be the experience of misery, sorrows, and pain? So the answer is ajnanatah adhyasavashat prakashate. So if we are of the nature of infinite bliss, then why do we experience sorrows, miseries, and pain? That is because ajnanatah, this experience, it appears only due to our own ignorance of ourselves. This is Maya or ignorance. Maya expressing as avarana, covering the reality and projecting that which is unreal, the vikshepa, that is anatma, covering the Atma, and then projecting the Anatma. All the illusion. And and all this is superimposed on the self. So first cover the reality, and then on that reality, which is already covered, avrana, veiling is there, and then on top of that, then project all that is unreal. So the reality is covered by veiling, and then on top of that, all that is unreal is projected on that or superimposed on that. You see, ajnanatah adhyasavat, adhyasa, that is superimposed, prakashate. Adhyasa vashat prakashate. So that is superimposed on that self, because there is nothing but the self. If the projection has to be there, it has to be on that self alone. Projection of illusion can be on the reality alone, because nothing else exists other than reality. All the projections of tragedies and comedies it is on the cinema screen. Whether it is a tragedy or a comedy or romance or action or whatever it may be, that is all projected on the same screen. The screen is a reality for the continuously changing play of light and sound. And here the self is the reality, on that this illusion is projected. Say, on our own self, having covered, veiled it, now this illusion is superimposed on that. Jnane viliyeta virodhata kshana. With the realization of the self, all the contrary knowledge, virodhataha, all that contrary knowledge, all that results of ignorance, that is instantly destroyed. Viliyate kshanat, that disappears completely, instantly. So, because jnana is contrary to ajnana, light is contrary to darkness. As soon as a light is brought in, all the darkness will disappear instantly. It will not go slowly. The moment the light is switched on, instantly the room is lighted. It is not that it will slowly start lighting up from one corner little by little and like that it will spread. No. As soon as the light is switched on, the room is lighted. So as soon as the knowledge is attained, immediately the ignorance is destroyed. Completely, it goes away along with its own effects, whatever the effects were there. So as stars appears only in the night, in the darkness, when there is light, no stars are there. They all disappear instantly. So in the daylight, it is not there. Only in light, in the night, when there is total darkness, then they appear there. So, though our nature is of infinite bliss, why is that an experience of sorrow, miseries, and pain? That is because of ignorance. We are unaware of our own self. That unawareness is causing this misery, sorrow, or pain. The moment we become aware, instantly everything disappears. So, this is an important aspect that we need to understand. Because people may say that we are of the nature of infinite bliss, but why do I suffer then? Why am I going through all these experiences? Why I have no glimpse of that infinite bliss? At least some little glimpse there should be. But the thing is that in and through every happy, joyful, or pleasurable experience from the outside world that we seem to derive, that little bit of joy, pleasure, or happiness comes from that infinite source within. Because in the external world, if we analyze thoroughly, there is nothing in this external world which has got even an iota of happiness, joy, or pleasure. It all comes from within. We have seen this many times. When we have a desire for an object, the moment a desire manifests in our mind, we become miserable. And then until and unless we fulfill that desire, we'll be miserable. Then of course we go into action, we do karma, we somehow acquire that. The moment we acquire that object of our desire, that moment we are very happy. Now, We have done this analysis several times. Inherently, there is no joy, pleasure, or happiness in any of the things and beings of this world. And if there was an inherent joy, pleasure, or happiness in any particular thing or being, that thing or being should be able to give the same quantum of joy, pleasure, or happiness to everyone, everywhere, at all times, in all situations and circumstances. That doesn't happen, because there is no inherent joy, pleasure, or happiness in that object. It is only an individual's mind that projects joy, pleasure, or happiness in the external world, the objects of the external world. A smoker projects some kind of pleasure in the cigarette. And the person who cannot stand the cigarette smoke also, he projects misery in the cigarette smoke. And there is a third person who neither smokes nor the cigarette smokes affect him. So he has neither, his mind has neither projected any pleasure nor misery in that cigarette. There are three people, three mind, and three mental projections. One is projecting some kind of pleasure, another some kind of misery, and the third person is neutral to that. If there is inherent pleasure in that cigarette, it should be able to give equal pleasure to everyone at all times, in all circumstances, everywhere. But it doesn't happen. If it is inherent sorrow in that, misery or pain in that, it should be able to give equally to everyone at all times, everywhere. That is also not there. It is only our mind that is projecting. So, if little bit of pleasure that we experience, where does it come from? If through thorough analysis we come to the conclusion that there is no inherent joy, pleasure, or happiness there in the external world, so when we experience a particular object, where does it come from then, if it is not there? When a desire is there for an object, we struggle to acquire it. The moment we acquire it, we are so happy. Where has that happiness come from? Because with thorough analysis, we have come to the conclusion that in the external world, no object has got any happiness. So where has that come from? When we acquire this object of our desire, temporarily our mind has become desireless. When our mind has become desireless, that desireless state of mind is the cause of that happiness. Because in that desireless state of mind, we tap into the self, which is of the infinite source of happiness. So when there are no desires, we are always happy. When there are more desires, we are miserable. So no desire, we are happy. So the desireless state of mind, we are expressing, we are closest to our own self, and that expresses the joy. So that is what it is. So there is no external object can give us any pleasure. And if it appears to give us some kind of pleasure, it is only coming from within, not from outside. That is the source of supreme bliss. So though we are of the infinite nature, we suffer because of our own ignorance. And whatever little joy that we get out of indulging in objects outside, that also comes from within only. Once we understand that, then why to quote the objects outside? Why not quote the self within, which is our own nature? Having said that, now, next shloka we'll take up in our next session. Now, if anybody has got any questions, they can ask.
Swamiji?
Yes.
A minute. Is it all right to continue question answer session? You do not seem to be all right today, Swamiji.
Okay, a little bit of cold is there. That's fine. There's no problem. Continue. We continue. We had a 1 hour lecture already.
Yeah.
So what about this 15 minutes of questions? It doesn't matter.
Achha. Okay, now Swamiji, last Tuesday, our senior most member, Mrs. Sunanda Nadkarni, she posed a question, and I'm just putting her question ad verbatim. Pankaj Bhai Sairam, I have got a small doubt. Will you please refer Shloka 27, last paragraph, page number 58, first sentence. Page
27.
Yeah. it says runs like this. Pure Maya is extremely sattvic. Then how does it create Jagat, which has all the three gunas? Does he mean to say that that Ishwar is extremely sattvic, and because Ishwar is conditioned by Maya and hence created Jagat, which has all three gunas?
Maya is Trigunatmika.
Hmm.
So Maya has got all the three gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. In the pure self, there are no gunas. It is Gunatita. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas is not there in the pure self. It is in the Maya alone. So Maya has got, therefore it is called as Trigunatmika Maya. So when all the three gunas are in balance, there is no creation. When there is disturbance in these three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, then the creation happens. You see? So therefore, our self, the pure self, has got nothing to do with any of these gunas. Sattva also is a guna. And in reality, we are gunatita. You see? So, of course, for a spiritual seeker, we have to have more sattva compared to sattva, less of rajas and far less of tamas as a spiritual seeker. But these are only gunas. But if we are predominantly sattvika, that will help us on the spiritual path. That is all. But then this is not our nature. The gunas are not our nature. It is not our part. It belongs to Maya. So Maya, with this help of these three gunas, then creates. So that is the Maya Shakti. That is what the Lord wields. He wields this Maya Shakti for creation. Trigunatmika Maya.
So pure Maya, Swamiji, so pure Maya, the Sattva Guna is prominent. That is what it tries to say.
In pure Maya, when there is no disturbance, there is no creation. When the disturbance happens, then the creation starts. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And we as the pure self, we have got nothing to do with Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. It doesn't belong to us. It is not ours. We have got nothing to do with that. Further, we'll come to know why this Maya is brought in.
18th house.
You see, so there is a reason why this factor Maya is brought in. There is a reason. Otherwise, if we can not have, because we have too many questions about the creation around us, therefore this factor of Maya has to be brought in to give some kind of plausible explanation. Otherwise, that Maya is also not required.
Okay, Swamiji.
Yes.
Now, this is my question. Excuse me if I'm retracing one step back. Can a self and the Jagat coexist, run parallel?
The desert sand, hot desert sand and mirage water can exist together, isn't it? Though there is no reality to the mirage water, but for all intents and purposes, you can see the mirage water. Desert sands are also there. They appear there. It is only an appearance. That's all. As regards the absolute self is concerned, nothing of this is there. And then for the realized master, it is just an appearance. So he doesn't get carried away by that.
But Swamiji, to accept that it does not exist, it's although there is a thin line of ignorance or avidya.
But does not exist for whom?
Does not exist for the realized masters.
Realized person, they look at it like we look at the mirage water and we know it doesn't exist. And therefore, even if we are thirsty, we will not run after that. Similarly, the realized master also looks at this world and doesn't get fascinated by the world around him. He will not run after that. Like we will not run after having known mirage water. Even if you are thirsty, we will not run after that. The realized master will not run after the world. He is content. He is reveling in his infinite bliss. It doesn't matter what is happening outside. he couldn't care less. He gives zero value to the external world.
Swamiji, so let us assume that it runs parallel. A bhakta ultimately ends in the knowledge or jnana, but he worships God, goes on worshipping God in this birth later on also, and have got a purna shraddha, as you say. So what is wrong in that?
You see, as regards a devotee is concerned, having realized also he continues that, there are several reasons also. Like Ramakrishna Paramahans, he realized the self. Of course, earlier he was caught up in the name and form of Mother Goddess. So Mother Goddess facilitated the appearance of Totapuri Maharaj to give him the knowledge. And after that, he realized the self. He was a great realized master. And even after that also, he used to worship, he used to do the puja. But then it changed a little bit. That means sometimes he will do, sometimes he will not do. Sometimes he will go and have just darshan and he'll tell Ma, today I will not do. Today I will have just your darshan. And sometimes he will do like that. Sometimes while doing puja, he'll put flowers on himself also. While he's offering flower to the Mother Goddess, he'll put on himself and all that thing. Because now he has realized the self, it doesn't make any difference. But many great masters, those who lived in the society, among the people, they will continue certain worship and so on, because everybody is watching this great master, what he is doing. And for him, he doesn't need to do any puja or anything like that. He is one with the Ishta Devata, the same thing. But the thing is that the people will not understand. The people are at ignorant level. So to show them a path, they need to do puja. He doesn't need to do puja. But what happens is that if he doesn't do it, the people will say that such a great Mahatma, he doesn't do, why should I do it? But he's talking from his ignorance level. This Mahatma ji, he is at a different level. If he does or he doesn't do it, doesn't make any difference to him. His ego has already dissolved. There is no pratyavaya dosha. There is no nitya karma, naimetik karma, this karma, that karma for him. There is no duty for him. But he still continues doing that just for the sake of the people. Because if he's living in the society, he has to do it. If he isolates himself and lives in some cave in the Himalayas or mountains or forest where nobody is there, then he can live the way he wants. There is no problem there. But if he is living in the society, he knows very well. There are people who are watching him and they are all ignorant and they need to do this. And if he doesn't do that, they will quote his example. See, such a great Mahatma, he's not doing it. Why should I do it? But this ignorant fellow doesn't know what level that great Mahatma is, whether he needs to do or he doesn't need to do that. He doesn't know. So for their sake, he will continue doing that. But the same Mahatma, if he's living in isolation in some mountain or some forest or something like that, he will not do it. There is no need to do, because he is one with that object of worship itself. There is no bheda. You see, in the Vyavhara, even generally disciples don't stay with the master. Once they realize the self, they go there, they are on their way. But otherwise, when they are in the presence of the master, for the Vyavhara, they will retain the duality, though they are one. The disciple and master, they are one. After realization, the disciple has known there is no difference between him and the master. But in the Vyavharik, relative world, he will maintain that duality between him and his master. So that is for the world's sake. You see? So that is the reason. Otherwise, there is no need. You see? So because as in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 3, Bhagwan Shri Krishna says, Yad yad acharati shreshtaha tat tat evetara janaha. So as the great people, they act, so the people will follow. The general people will follow him. So they have to set a good example. So it is for them, for the general people, they have to continue. They have to set an example. It is for them. Otherwise, they don't need it. And then later on, these people will make that as pramanam. Sayat pramanam kurute. And then they will follow, they'll start doing that alone. Because that Mahatma Ji did that, so we are doing it. That Mahatma Ji didn't do it, so we are not doing it. So like that they will do. So therefore, it is important when Mahatmas are living in the society among the people, then it is very important for them. Otherwise, if he is in isolation, he couldn't care less. What does it matter?
Okay. Thank you, Swami. Thank you.
Shall we conclude?
Yeah, we can call it a day.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om.